The wind that moved through the shattered domes of Proxima 4 carried the smell of ozone and burned glass. Lieutenant Commander Jeremy Reed picked his way through the wreckage, his boots crunching over powdered silica that glittered like ground-up stars. The outpost had once been a research crown, a cathedral of mirrors and bioluminescent panels devoted to joint experiments between human and alien minds. Now it lay broken open to the pale twin moons, its corridors twisted, its air scorched thin. His helmet feed scrolled casualty counts, already confirmed, dead too many. Heat still rippled from the ruins, radiating off collapsed walls like breath from a dying animal. No life signs beyond the perimeter, his comm whispered, but Jeremy knew machines could lie. He had been a combat medic long enough to know that hope sometimes flickered below the thresholds of scanners. He turned down a collapsed passage where molten glass had cooled into rippling walls, his light cutting through a haze of dust. A sound, a shallow, ragged gasp made him stop. The beam swept across twisted metal, debris, then caught movement. A figure wedged against a bulkhead, trembling. "I've got one," he said automatically, dropping to one knee. She was humanoid, small-boned, skin faintly blue, as if kissed by frozen light. Her garments hung in tatters, the cloth fused with soot and blood. When he reached for her shoulder, she flinched and pressed herself hard against the wall, voice breaking through cracked lips. "Please, don't remove my clothes." The translator rendered it in human cadence, but couldn't hide the terror under the words. Jeremy froze, the med scanner hovering inches from her. He'd seen fear before, soldiers in triage, prisoners liberated from vexillary cages, but this was older, deeper, something carved into reflex. "You're hurt," he said softly. "I need to treat you?" She shook her head, eyes wide and wet with reflected moonlight. No, the denial was small but absolute. He could walk away, mark the coordinates, wait for extraction and regulation nedroids to do their work. But she was losing blood. The readings on his scanner danced wild internal trauma, heat shock, surface lacerations beyond the threshold of infection. Every second mattered. "I'm not going to hurt you," he murmured, pulling off his gloves, letting her see his empty hands. "Just help me save you?" Her breathing hitched, the tiniest nod, surrender born not of trust but exhaustion. Jeremy sliced through the fused fabric with the sterilizer blade, layer by layer, until the rags fell away, and then his pulse stumbled. Her body was a map of cruelty. Lines, circles, geometric scars traced her torso and arms with surgical precision. Burn marks, cauterized incision paths, symmetrical rows of punctures that glowed faintly like dormant circuitry. They weren't wounds of war. They were experiments etched into flesh. He'd seen what the vexillary called interrogation. He'd never seen artistry in it. Something inside him cracked, a fault line running through years of hardened training. "God," he whispered, more prayer than curse. Her head turned slightly, shame and defiance battling in her gaze. "I warned you," she whispered. He forced his throat to work, reached for the thermal blanket, wrapped it around her trembling shoulders. "You don't need to be ashamed," he said, but his voice betrayed him, thick with grief he couldn't justify. The scanner beeped a new rhythm unidentified signal, subdermal frequency spike along her spinal column. His stomach tightened. The readout displayed interference patterns, alien nanotech woven into tissue. "There's something inside you," he said quietly. Her eyes closed, tears streaking down dusted cheeks. "I know." Outside, one of the shattered domes groaned and collapsed, a distant echo under the thin atmosphere, but Jeremy barely heard it. He was staring at the data pulsing on his wrist, display unknown construct, live. The rescue had just become a containment case. He keyed his come for command and hesitated. The image of her scars burned behind his eyelids. Protocol demanded quarantine. Humanity demanded compassion. Between those two orders, something in him broke, and in that breaking, the first act of mercy began. The ship Solace drifted in low orbit above the scorched world, its hull reflecting the faint shimmer of Proxima's twin moons. Inside, sterile white corridors hummed with the disciplined rhythm of the Alliance fleet, every light a pulse, every sound measured. Lieutenant Commander Jeremy Reed walked those halls like a man half anchored to reality, the ghost of the ruins still flickering behind his eyes. The decontamination seal hissed open, releasing a faint mist of sterilized air as he entered the isolation bay. Through the glass wall, Lena Nix sat upright on the examination table, her posture too perfect to be natural. She wore a standard-issue medical tunic that hung loosely from her narrow frame, concealing the network of scars he couldn't forget. Her gaze was distant, fixed on the viewport where the planet turned slowly below them, a dying world under cold moons. Jeremy paused at the threshold, heart pounding harder than any combat drop he'd ever made. She looked fragile, yes, but not weak. There was a quiet, coiled strength in the stillness of her hands, the deliberate way she breathed, as though teaching herself not to tremble. "You shouldn't be here," came the voice of Captain Harding behind him. Older, iron-voiced, tempered by too many wars. Intelligence flagged her as a level 3 containment risk. "I need your report, not your sympathy." Jeremy kept his eyes on Lena. "She's not a threat, sir. She's a survivor." Harding stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Survivors don't carry alien tech in their spines." The lab scans confirmed embedded structures' vexury origin. Jeremy turned then, unable to mask his frustration. Those structures kept her alive. Whatever they put in her wasn't voluntary. "Doesn't matter," Harding said. "Command wants her transferred to the secure med block on Vega Station for full extraction. She's off your hands." Jeremy's throat tightened around the words. "That's a death sentence." Harding's expression softened just slightly, a rare flicker of empathy. "You've done your duty, Reed. You found her. Let the scientists do theirs." He left, boots fading down the corridor, leaving silence in his wake. Jeremy exhaled slowly and entered the bay. The containment field shimmered faintly as it scanned his ID. Lena turned her head, the motion cautious, wary. "You defied orders to bring me here," she said quietly. Her accent was melodic, a cadence both alien and familiar. "Now you risk punishment for visiting again." "Why?" He tried to smile. "Because I've never been good at paperwork." Her lips twitched in something almost like amusement, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Your people believe they can fix what the Vixery broke." "You can't." "Maybe," he said, "but I'm still going to try." He pulled up the med console, displaying her biometrics. Neural instability. Residual subdermal signal. The same anomaly pulsed at regular intervals, like a heartbeat inside another heartbeat. "What did they do to you?" he asked softly. Her gaze drifted to the window again. "They called it enlightenment. They said pain opens the mind, that agony cleanses weakness. They wanted to see how much consciousness could endure before it broke." Jeremy swallowed hard, his hand tightening on the console. "And it?" Her eyes found his. "No, but it broke them. They couldn't understand why I kept my mind when their machines said I should have lost it. So they turned me into proof." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "There's something alive in that implant, isn't there?" She hesitated and nodded once. "A device. A parasite. A memory hive that records everything I perceive. It was supposed to feed the Vexery network with information, but it malfunctioned when they forced integration. Now it feeds on me instead." Jeremy stared at the display. The readings flickered erratically, as though reacting to her words. "If it's broadcasting, they could already know where you are." "They do," she said simply. The lights in the bay dimmed for a heartbeat, the faint vibration of the ship shifting as though something vast had just passed too close. Jeremy felt it in his bones, the unmistakable echo of a long-range scan rushing the hull. "We're being watched," he murmured. Lena's eyes shimmered faintly, bioluminescent patterns blooming along her temples like defensive flares. "They've come for me before. They always come." He took a step nearer, standing just outside the field. "Then let them come. I'm not letting them take you again." For a moment, she stared at him as though trying to decipher an equation written in emotion rather than symbols. "You speak as if it's your choice," she said softly. "It stopped being mine a long time ago." The hum of the containment field deepened, a low vibration that set the glass trembling. The console flashed red. Anomaly neural surge detected. Lena winced, clutching her temple, as the markings on her skin flared brighter. Jeremy lunged for the override, his training warring with panic. The sensors spiked energy readings off the charts. Then, just as suddenly, everything went still. The lights stabilized. Lena's breathing slowed. "It's not me," she whispered. "It's the implant. It's waking up." Jeremy stood frozen, his mind already racing through contingency protocols, emergency containment procedures, and the words that had been haunting him since the ruins. "Then we take it out," he said quietly. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "That would kill me." "Maybe," he replied, "but if we don't, it might kill everyone else." She stared at him for a long moment, then whispered, "You humans. You never know when to stop caring." He met her gaze steadily, and for the first time since Proxima's ashes, he didn't feel broken, just human enough to defy every order. Written in the name of safety, the medical bay became a cathedral of light and fear. The overheads dimmed to surgical white as Jeremy keyed in the lockdown protocol, sealing the chamber from the rest of the ship. The hum of the Solace's engines receded until only the thrum of his pulse filled the silence. Lena lay on the biobed, her skin glowing faintly beneath the sterilization field, a pale blue ghost against the sterile sheets. Sweat shimmered along her collarbone, catching the light like liquid glass. Jeremy's fingers hovered over the console, over the command that would begin the unlicensed extraction sequence. His mouth was dry, but his voice stayed steady. "You said it's alive. If it wakes fully, it could transmit your location to every Vexery ship in the sector." Lena's eyes flickered open, their strange luminosity softer now, almost human. "Then you understand why you can't let them have me." "That's not an option." He moved closer, checking the calibration on the scanner's neural interface. "I can suppress the signal long enough to isolate the implant. If I do it right, I can remove it without killing you." Her gaze followed his hands, clinical, detached, until he looked up and their eyes met. Then all detachment dissolved. "You've done this before," she said quietly. "Not like this," he admitted. "Not without command authorization. Not on someone He stopped himself. "Someone who's conscious." She tilted her head, markings faintly pulsing in curiosity. "Finish the sentence, Jeremy." He didn't. Instead, he picked up the microlaser and switched it to its lowest setting. The scent of ozone filled the air. "I'm going to numb the base of your skull. You'll feel warmth, then nothing. And if you fail, then I fail with you." For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the machines surrounded them like a heartbeat. Lena exhaled slowly and lay her head back. "In my culture," she murmured, lying face down like this means trust. Or surrender. I'm not sure which I'm offering you. Jeremy adjusted the scanner's arc, his voice quiet. "I'll take either." Her markings flared faintly, a silent reaction he didn't need translated. Then he made the first incision. Her skin parted beneath the laser's precise edge, revealing layers of tissue threaded with bioluminescent veins. The light inside her wasn't just biological, it was engineered, pulsing with an alien rhythm that made human instruments stutter. The scanner beeped the warning. "I'm reading a live power source," he said, sweat tracing a line down his temple. "Neural interface. Adaptive." "It adapts to my fear," Lena whispered. "The more I feel, the stronger it becomes." Jeremy's jaw clenched. "Then stop being afraid." "I would," she gasped, "if your kind didn't keep saving me." He almost smiled at that. His hands were steady, but his thoughts weren't. He'd performed hundreds of battlefield extractions. But this was different. Each pulse of her heartbeat registered as a glow beneath his fingers, light responding to touch. "Talk to me," he said. "Keep your mind here. What do you want to know?" "Your home." "Tell me about it." Erodani Prime, oceans that reflect two suns. Cities suspended above coral towers. Music in the air from the wind and the glass. Her breath hitched as the laser cut deeper. "They destroyed it. Burned the sky to find us." The scanner chirped proximity alert. Jeremy's eyes widened. There it is. The implant gleamed beneath the neural sheath. A living piece of machinery metal that flexed like tissue, cables that shimmered like veins. It pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, a parasitic intelligence nested at the base of her spine. "I can't believe they built this," he whispered. "It's fused to your nervous system." "Then cut fast," she said through gritted teeth, "before it decides to cut back." He reached for the neural stabilizer, attaching it behind her ear. "Lena," he said, "if I sever the wrong link, your respiratory center shuts down." "Then don't," she said, her voice trembling. "You're not the first human to hurt me, Jeremy Reed, but you could be the first to save me." The words struck something deep in him, something that made his hands burn with purpose. He isolated the first connection, sliced it. A shriek not from her, but from the implant itself, echoed through the room in a sound beyond hearing, vibrating in his bones. The lights flickered. The implant lashed out with a surge of electromagnetic force that shorted the scanner display. Lena arched, her eyes snapping open, glowing white-hot. "It's trying to take control." She screamed. Jeremy grabbed the stabilizer, boosting the countercurrent. "Fight it." "Stay with me?" "I can see them." She gasped. "Vexery ships closing in." "It's transmitting." Jeremy didn't think he acted, cutting the final connective tissue with a desperate, perfect motion. The room exploded in light. The implant ripped free of her body, writhing like a severed organism before collapsing into the containment field. Silence crashed over them. Lena slumped forward, her body trembling violently, markings fading from searing blue to a soft, steady glow. Jeremy caught her before she fell, lowering her gently to the table. "It's done," he whispered. She blinked up at him, pupils dilated, the faintest trace of a smile ghosting her lips. "Then you broke the chain." He realized then that his hands were shaking. Not from adrenaline, but from awe and from the quiet, devastating knowledge that he would never see the universe the same way again. He'd gone in to cut out a parasite. Instead, he'd cut open his own armor, and what lay beneath was unbearably human. The Solace drifted in the quiet dark between worlds, its engines reduced to a low, constant murmur. In the medical bay, the lights had been dimmed to twilight warm enough to soften the sharp edges of the sterile equipment, quiet enough to hear the soft rhythm of two hearts trying to remember what peace sounded like. Lena lay propped against the pillows, the faint luminescence of her markings bathing the room in a calm blue glow. The incision at the base of her neck had healed cleanly, a silver thread now hidden beneath the curtain of her pale hair. Jeremy sat beside her, elbows on his knees, staring at the sealed containment capsule across the room. Inside it, the extracted implant floated in suspension, a lifeless knot of alien metal and biofiber, still faintly pulsing like a dying ember. "It's smaller than I imagined," he said quietly. "Something that caused that much pain shouldn't fit in the palm of my hand." Lena followed his gaze, her expression unreadable. Size has never limited cruelty. The Vexry learned that long before we did. Jeremy turned to her. The shadows beneath his eyes deepened from exhaustion and something heavier guilt. Maybe, or the echo of it. "You should rest," he said, but she shook her head slowly. "You haven't." He almost laughed. "I'm fine. You're not." Her voice was gentle but firm, like a verdict given out of compassion. "Your hands were shaking when you sealed the incision. Humans tremble when they carry something too heavy to name." Jeremy looked down at his fingers, still faintly stained with the sterile residue of surgery. "Maybe I'm just out of practice. It's been years since I operated without a full surgical A. It wasn't the machine that made it difficult." Her eyes caught the low light, glowing faintly. "It was me." He met her gaze, and for a long moment neither spoke. The silence wasn't empty. It hummed, filled with all the things neither dared say aloud. Finally, Jeremy exhaled. "When I saw what they did to you, the scars, I thought I'd seen everything war could do to a body. I was wrong. They didn't just hurt you. They studied you like an equation. They wanted to understand endurance," Lena murmured. "How much a living mind can bear before it breaks. They believed they could map pain, quantify resistance, turn it into a weapon." "And did they?" "No." Her lips curved in the faintest bittersweet smile. "But they turned me into a question your species isn't ready to answer." Jeremy frowned. "What question?" "What happens when the weapon learns compassion from its maker's enemy?" She shifted slightly, the blanket slipping from her shoulder. For the first time, he noticed that her glow had changed softer, warmer, threaded with hints of violet. "You're different," he said. "Since the implant came out." She looked down at her hands, flexing her fingers as though testing the feel of them. "It left something behind. I feel resonance. My body is emitting low-frequency radiation energy that shouldn't exist without the device." She looked up, eyes wide and uncertain. "I think I've become the weapon they wanted me to be." Jeremy's breath caught. "You mean you could still?" "Yes," she interrupted, her voice low. "If the Vexry are near, I could destroy them without meaning to. I feel their presence even now, faint but approaching. I can taste their fear." She pressed her palm to her chest. "It's inside me. Their energy and mine entangled." Jeremy stood, pacing the small room. "We'll find a way to stabilize it. Contain it. I'll talk to Harding." "No." Her voice cut through his determination, sharp as glass. "You can't tell anyone. If they know what I am, they'll lock me away again. Study me. Maybe even use me. Lena, please." Her tone softened. "I just found freedom. Don't let them take it." He stopped pacing, jaw tight, then nodded. "All right. I'll keep your secret. But you'll need to trust me." She tilted her head, the faintest shimmer of light tracing her cheekbones. "I already do. That's what frightens me." Jeremy sat again, closer this time, his voice rough. "It shouldn't. Trust is all we've got out here." "No." She met his gaze steadily. "You have orders. I have survival. Trust is a luxury neither of us can afford." He wanted to argue, but her expression stopped him. He looked down, then reached out slowly, resting his hand over hers. Her skin was cool, almost electric, the faint pulse of light beneath it syncing with the beat of his heart. "Maybe so," he said, "but I'm taking the risk anyway." The glow between their joined hands deepened, merging into one hue of color that wasn't quite blue or human at all. Lena drew a slow breath, eyes fluttering shut. "In my world," she whispered, "when two life forms share resonance, their energies align. It's considered sacred. And here, Jeremy said softly, we just call it connection. The door hissed open suddenly, breaking the moment. Captain Harding stood silhouetted in the doorway, his face a mask of restrained urgency. Reed, we need you on the bridge. Now. Jeremy rose immediately, tension snapping back into his posture. What is it? Something big, Harding said grimly. 3 Vexery cruisers just dropped out of warp within sensor range. They're scanning for a biosignature. Lena's glow flared in instinctive panic. Jeremy turned to her. Stay here. Don't move. Her voice was a whisper. They've come for me. Jeremy's hand lingered on the door panel. Then they'll have to go through me first. When the door slid shut between them, Lena sat very still, staring at her reflection in the viewport. Her markings pulsed in rapid succession, echoing her heart. For the first time since her capture, she didn't feel like prey. She felt like a storm waiting to be unleashed. The bridge of the Solace pulsed with red light as alarms wailed through the corridors. The hum of engines deepened, shifting from cruise to battle frequency. Jeremy burst through the sliding doors, the metallic tongue of adrenaline sharp in the air. The crew moved like clockwork shields cycling, comms scrambling encryption, defense grids powering up. Captain Harding stood over the tactical display, its holographic projection showing 3 massive Vexery cruisers forming a predatory arc. Their hulls gleamed like obsidian, alive with bioluminescent veins that pulsed in rhythm, as though the ships themselves were breathing. They're scanning for something biological, Fleming reported from the science console. Signature doesn't match any known human frequency. Harding's eyes cut to Jeremy. You know what they're looking for. Jeremy's stomach dropped. Lena, the captain nodded grimly. Whatever you pulled out of her, they tracked it before you sealed it. They're homing in on the residual signature. How much time before they're in range? 14 minutes, Fleming said. Maybe less if they vector for direct contact. Harding turned to Jeremy, his voice low but charged. We can't outrun them. We can't fight them head-on. You brought her aboard, so how do we keep her from lighting up like a beacon? Jeremy hesitated. We can't hide her. Not completely, but we can make them think they already have her. Harding frowned. A decoy? More than that. Jeremy's eyes flicked to the hologram. If we transmit a falsified biosignal and make it look like a containment transfer, they'll move to intercept a phantom instead of us. You think they'll buy it? They're not expecting humans to outsmart their own tech. They'll take the bait long enough for us to jump. Harding's gaze lingered on him. And what about your patient? Jeremy met his eyes evenly. I'll protect her, no matter what it takes. Harding gave a single nod. You have 10 minutes. Make it work. Jeremy was already gone, sprinting down the corridor toward the medical bay. The Solace shuddered under the strain of evasive maneuvers, the floor vibrating beneath his boots. He burst through the door to find Lena standing by the viewport, her markings flickering like candlelight in a storm. I can feel them, she whispered without turning. They're close, so close I can taste the metal of their breath. We don't have much time, Jeremy said. They're tracking your residual frequency. I'm going to broadcast a false signal to draw them away. And if that fails, then we fight. She turned then, her face illuminated by the blue glow that pulsed along her skin. You can't win against them, Jeremy. You don't understand what they are. He stepped closer, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. Then help me understand. She hesitated, the faint tremor in her voice betraying something between fear and resolve. The Vexery don't see life as we do. To them, existence is information. They harvest it, translate it, consume it. I was their experiment to see if compassion could be weaponized. When you removed the implant, you didn't destroy their creation. You perfected it. He frowned. What do you mean? The energy inside me. It's changing. When you touched me during the extraction, your neural patterns synchronized with mine. You're linked to the same frequency now. Jeremy stared at her, stunned. You're saying? You're part of it, Jeremy. The weapon. The resonance. Whatever they built inside me, it recognized you. Adapted. Now the signal doesn't just come from me. It comes from us. Before he could answer, the ship jolted violently. Sparks burst from the overhead lights as the deck pitched. Harding's voice crackled through the com. Reed, we've been hit by a gravitic tether. They've locked onto our trajectory. You've got 2 minutes before boarding. Jeremy cursed under his breath, grabbing the emergency release from the wall. We're out of time. He looked at Lena. Can you still feel the radiation building inside you? She nodded, pale light rippling along her skin like waves. It's stronger near them. My body reacts to their proximity. Then maybe we can use it. He opened a compartment and pulled out a portable power stabilizer, normally used to regulate reactor cores. If we amplify your frequency through this, we might overload their tether and force them to release us. That much energy could kill me. And if we don't, they'll take you back. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Lina smiled faintly, the sadness in it luminous. You humans never stop choosing death for love. Jeremy met her gaze, something fierce and desperate burning there. Not death, defiance. She stepped forward, close enough for her glow to wash over his face. If we do this, it has to be together. Our energies are linked. If you channel me, it will pass through you too. He didn't hesitate. Then together. She reached for his hands. The moment their skin touched, the containment field around them shimmered, their heartbeats sinking like mirrored waves. The stabilizer hummed to life, its circuits straining as Lena's markings ignited into brilliant blue-white fire. Now, Jeremy shouted, slamming the activation switch. Light erupted around them, pouring through the ship like dawn breaking through darkness. The tether snapped, the shockwave rippling outward into the void. On the sensors, the nearest Vixeray cruiser convulsed, its biohull fracturing as energy cascaded through it, systems imploding in a storm of light. It's working. Fleming's voice echoed over the com. The others are retreating. Jeremy tightened his grip as Lena's glow reached blinding intensity. Stay with me. She gasped, her body trembling. It's too much. Jeremy, if I lose control? You won't, he said, his voice rough. You're not their weapon anymore. You're mine. Her laughter came through her tears, soft and radiant. Yours, then. Always yours. The light flared one last time, and then silence. The alarms died. The air hung still, tasting of ozone and heat. Jeremy opened his eyes slowly. The stabilizer was dark. The walls scorched. In his arms, Lena was limp but breathing, her glow reduced to a faint pulse. Harding's voice broke through the com. Reed? Report. Jeremy looked down at her, his throat tight. She's alive. And so are we. For the first time since the war began, he realized he was shaking not from fear, but from something dangerously close to hope. He didn't know what they had unleashed, only that whatever they had become, it was something the Vexery could never replicate, something human hearts had forged from love and ruin. The solace drifted through the emptiness of the Cygnus void, engines whispering low and tired after the fight. The stars around them seemed distant and cold, like silent witnesses to what had just unfolded. Repairs hummed faintly through the hull, the ship slowly mending itself, but inside the medical bay, time had stopped. Lena lay on the recovery bed, the faint luminescence of her markings, casting ripples of light across Jeremy's face. He sat beside her, elbows on his knees, exhaustion hanging off him like a second skin. Every part of him ached, but his mind wouldn't quiet. He had seen things he couldn't explain the moment the tether broke. The blinding surge of energy that had erupted from both of them. The way her light had poured through his body and filled the ship like a living heartbeat. The med scanners still didn't understand it. "You should be resting," Harding's voice said from the doorway. Jeremy looked up, the older man standing there, hands folded behind his back, eyes soft with the kind of respect rarely given. "You did good, son. You bought us time." Jeremy shook his head. "I didn't buy us anything." "She did." Harding stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Whatever that was out there, the energy burst, it saved us. But it also changed our readings. You're emitting trace radiation now. Her frequency." Jeremy blinked. "You mean?" "I mean it's inside you," Harding said. "Whatever the Vex-ray did to her, you share it now. She fused with you, Reed. Maybe intentionally, maybe not. But you're both part of something I don't think any of us understand yet." Jeremy stared down at Lena, still unconscious, her breathing steady and soft. She risked everything to stop them. "I won't let Command turn that into another experiment." Harding hesitated, then nodded once. "Then get her out of here before they arrive. Command ships will be here in 12 hours. You're giving me a head start?" "I'm giving you a chance," Harding said quietly. "Because whatever she is now, she's not a weapon. She's a miracle. And miracles don't survive in labs." He turned and left without another word. Jeremy sat for a long time, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest, until finally Lena stirred. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly gold instead of blue, as if dawn itself had settled inside them. "Where are we?" she whispered. "Safe," he said softly. "For now." Her fingers brushed the blanket, then his wrist, and her markings pulsed brighter at the contact. "You're different," she murmured. "I can feel it, your frequency, your light. It's like mine." "Harding thinks it transferred during the surge," he admitted. "That whatever made you, part of it crossed into me." She smiled faintly, tired but beautiful. "Then you'll live longer than most humans. And you'll carry my echo. I'd rather carry you." Her laugh was soft, fragile, but real. "You already do." She sat up slowly, wincing as she moved, her hand finding his. "Jeremy, the Vex-ray won't stop. They'll adapt. They always do. But now they fear what we are together." He nodded. "Let them. Fear's the first step to understanding they can't win." "No," she said quietly, her eyes searching his. "Fear's the first step to peace. Sometimes you have to show them what they're afraid of, and then forgive them for it." He looked at her, at the calm certainty in her voice, and something in him finally eased. "So what happens now?" "Now," she said, standing with effort, "you show me your world. You promised me oceans." He smiled. "I did." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks of silent corridors, of whispered laughter, of nights spent watching the stars from the observation deck, where she taught him the names of constellations humans hadn't yet discovered. The bond between them deepened, quiet and unspoken, not needing touch or words to prove it. When the solace finally broke through the blue haze of Earth's atmosphere, Lena stood beside him on the viewport, her eyes wide with awe. "It's so alive," she breathed. "Even the light here feels different." "It's imperfect," Jeremy said softly, "but it's home." Days later, they stood on a cliff above the Pacific. The sun melted into gold and crimson over the horizon, and the wind carried the salt of the sea against their skin. The world seemed impossibly still after everything they had endured. Lena stepped closer, the ocean wind tangling her pale hair as her markings shimmered softly in the fading light. "When you first removed my clothes," she said, voice quiet, "I thought you would only see what they did to me. But you saw what I had survived. You saw me." He turned to face her, his voice thick. "It broke me, Lena, not because of what they did, but because I realized how much pain one's soul could endure while still believing in kindness." She touched his cheek, her glow warming against his skin. "And when I asked you to remove them again," she whispered, "it wasn't shame. It was trust. It was hope that even broken things can be loved." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "You're not broken. Neither are you," she said. "You were remade." The waves roared below them, ancient and endless. Lena's markings pulsed once, reflecting the sun's dying light, then stilled. She smiled. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The world?" "No," he said softly. "You?" And in that quiet, as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared, something passed between them, a warmth not of radiation or alien energy, but of life, love, and fragile, infinite mercy. Months later, when Alliance Command scanned the Solace's logs, they found an anomaly, a persistent energy signature identical to the Vixari weapon frequency, but stable, harmonic, and human. The scientists called it resonance alignment. The crew called it a miracle. And somewhere, on a quiet coast where the waves met the sky, two figures stood beneath the stars, their light joined proof that compassion could be stronger than cruelty. And that sometimes, when a human breaks, it's the universe itself that learns how to heal.